Breaking news for people facing eviction. CDC Director Rochelle Walensky late today extended a pandemic order blocking certain evictions through the end of March. The measure, which was set to expire this month, covers people earning $99,000 a year or less and cannot make payment because of lost income or extraordinary medical costs. The measure is not comprehensive. It's not law, which brings us to the president's effort to pass a COVID relief bill. The Republican opposition and what could be some resistance from two Democratic senators. Our senior White House correspondent Phil Mattingly joins us now with more on the administration's push for the $1.9 trillion bill. So how and when does the president think he might get a deal on this stimulus money?
Yeah, Anderson, speed is of the essence. When you talk to White House advisors, they know that the March deadline, not just for evictions at the end of March, but also for the expanded unemployment insurance, is very real and will start to bite even before mid-March when the deadline actually exists. So they want something done quickly. How they are going to get it done? Look, the reality here on the ground, Anderson, both the White House and Capitol Hill Democrats saying they don't believe Republicans are going to get on board. Now, they do have slim majorities in the House and in the Senate. They can pass things on a partisan basis. And while President Biden has made clear he's going to continue outreach to Republican members of Congress, things right now look very much like Democrats are going to move on their own to get the speed and the scale of the proposal they want in place.
And what's Vice President Harris's role in all this?
This gets to the point of if Democrats move on their own, they're going to need everybody they've got in the United States Senate. It is a 50-50 split with Vice President Kamala Harris. To break that tie, they cannot afford to lose a single Democrat. And that is why you saw the vice president doing local TV and local newspaper interviews in the state of Arizona and in the state of West Virginia yesterday. West Virginia, home to Democrat Joe Manchin. Arizona, home to Democrat Kyrsten Sinema. Both moderate Democrats, both have expressed some wariness about that $1.9 trillion price tag. That will be part of the vice president's role, but also keep an eye on her work on what's kind of being referred to as the outside game, talking to outside groups to try and rally support, not just with the public, but also with crucial groups that can be a voice to the public. They believe at the White House that they can win the public battle about this bill, particularly if Republicans are opposed. The vice president will play a key role in rallying the support and trying to push that as they move forward and try and get this through Congress over the course of the next several weeks, Anderson.
All right, Phil Mattingly, appreciate it. Joining us right now, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. He's been vocal, along with some Republicans back in December, in favor of putting larger stimulus checks into American pockets. Senator Sanders, thanks for being with us. So to the question of direct payments, there's a group of senators, both Democrat and Republican, who are lobbying the Biden administration and saying the current plan gives too much money to wealthy Americans and the threshold should be lowered. President Biden himself has said he's open to that. Are you?
All right, all that we're talking about here is trimming off some of the spillover money for wealthy people. Right now, small sums of money might go to families who are earning more than $150,000. I have no problem with doing away with that. But bottom line is, in the midst of this terrible economic crisis, we have got to get checks of $1,400 on top of the $600 that we already allocated out to every working class family in this country and to their kids as well. People are struggling to put food on the table, to avoid eviction, to go to the doctor. They need help now, and we need that total $2,000 package.
And you've been vocal that COVID relief has to happen fast, and if that means passing the bill through reconciliation, so be it. Can you just explain, kind of in layman's terms, exactly what reconciliation is and why you think that should be an option?
Well, from a political point of view, the most important point is that it only requires a majority vote. To pass significant legislation in the Senate, you need 60 votes. And frankly, we do not have 60 votes from Republicans to address the catastrophes that are impacting working families today. So the only way that we are going to deal effectively with the pandemic and get vaccines into the arms of people, increase vaccine production. The only way we're going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage so people are not working for starvation wages. The only way we're going to open up our schools in a way that is safe. The only way that we're going to put people back to work in restaurants and protect small businesses, the only way we're going to do that is the reconciliation. And we expect that we will have a budget bill on the floor as soon as Monday or Tuesday.
COVID is an area where Democrats may get Republicans in some cases on board. If President Biden and the Democrats do go it alone without Republican support, I guess the counter argument, it could burn bridges with Republican colleagues. Does that concern you, or does, at this point, do the end justify the means?
Well, let's not look at it quite that dramatically. I mean, the way you look at it is, should the Congress respond to the pain that tens of millions of families are hurting? Should we be effective and aggressive in trying to crush this pandemic? Should we make sure that our kids can get back to school? Should we make sure that workers are earning a living wage? So the crises we face are unprecedented. We have got to act and act decisively. Now, this is the Reconciliation 1 package. There'll be another package coming along, and it's possible that we can get some more Republican support for that one. That one will deal with more of the long-term structural problems facing this country in terms of a crumbling infrastructure and in terms of transforming our energy system to deal with climate change. And when we do that, we can create millions of good-paying jobs. There may well be some Republicans who want to work with us on that. But right now, this is an emergency bill. It's the pandemic. It's the economic crisis. It's the health crisis. We have got to act and act decisively and as soon as possible.
One of the things you've talked about a lot over the years is when Republicans have wanted money for military increases, for whatever it may be, that hasn't been a problem for Republicans. But when Democrats start talking about, money for schools, or in this case, COVID relief, all of a sudden there's deficit concerns. Is this another example of that?
It absolutely is. And the hypocrisy is really quite extraordinary. You all remember, it was just a few years ago when Trump and my Republican colleagues voted for almost $2 trillion in tax breaks for the wealthiest people in this country and the largest corporations. Anderson, I didn't hear a whole lot of worry about the deficit then. We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars going into all types of corporate welfare. We're talking about a military budget with a Pentagon that has never been independently audited, massive amounts of waste and fraud within the Pentagon budget, not a problem. But somehow or another, when it comes to feeding children who are hungry, when it comes to making sure that people who are sick in the middle of a pandemic get the health care they need, when it comes to reopening our schools in a safe way, in expanding the child tax credit, so we deal with the horrendous level of child poverty in this country. When it comes to those things, suddenly my Republican colleagues become very fervent about the deficit.
Vice President Harris was doing, we talked about local television interviews, West Virginia, Arizona, around the COVID bill, something many saw obviously is putting some pressure on Democrats, Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema. How confident are you that you have even enough votes within the Democratic caucus to get the bill through?
I am very confident. Look, at the end of the day, you got 50 members of the Democratic caucus, and we all disagree on something. I have disagreements with this 1.9 project here, $1.9 trillion COVID bill. Other people have different problems with it. But at the end of the day, I believe that every Democrat is going to go into his or her heart and understand that in America today, there is so much suffering, there is so much pain, there is so much fear about the pandemic that now is the time to act. So what? We disagree on this issue. We disagree on that issue. Doesn't matter. This is a life and death proposal, and it must be passed immediately. And I'll tell you something else, Anderson, from a political point of view. We are in the majority now, barely. It's a 50-50 tie, plus the vice president. We're in the majority because we have two great candidates who won in Georgia. And those candidates promised their constituents in Georgia, and it became a national election. The president was there, Chuck Schumer was there. And we said to the American people, you vote for us, and we're going to start responding to the long overdue crises facing working families. Yes, you're going to get $2,000 for yourself and your kid. Yes, you're going to get extended unemployment. Yes, you're going to get the kinds of housing help you need so you don't get evicted. Those are the promises that we made. And it would be unthinkable to me that any Democrat would want to renege on those promises we made, not just to the people of Georgia, but to the people of America.